you are free to chant any mantra that you like. But when it comes to Sri Vidya, I intentionally didn't say the whole mantra, obviously. So there is Kadi Vidya, Hadi Vidya, and Sadi Vidya, Kadi Vidya, Ka Ila, Hadi Vidya, Hasa Kahala, and so on. So it's called Traikut Kalevara. One of Mother Divine's name is Traikut Kalevara, that she is wearing the three kutas. Now, in Sri Vidya, in the mantra, you were saying there are three aspects to it, three states of consciousness it reflects. So when you're initiated in a mantra, then hopefully the Guru will also tell you, if you are walking on a particular tradition, following a certain tradition, that which texts to read, what to reflect on, so you start to appreciate the depth of what you have just embarked upon. And when you do that, you develop greater appreciation for the mantra as well as better understanding. Until that happens, it's like you can, but whether you're going to really enjoy the process or not remains to be seen. If somebody gets repeatedly pulled, attracted towards a certain mantra, there is absolutely no harm in trying it. If you live to tell the story, it will be a good story. And obviously there are many, many paths. There was a king once. You know how sometimes there are books you read or movies you watch that are open-ended. So they don't necessarily tie all the loose ends or leave you with a very clean ending. They will just leave you with your thoughts. And for you to make up your mind or deduce whatever you so wish, because that is the way of life as well. So there was this king, this is one such story, and he grew tired of his constant engagements and meeting people and constantly listening to people and their problems and their sorrows. And he tried every method in the book, including meeting forms, to somehow cut that down, but nothing helped. He hid himself in the palace, but still people would come, he'd have to see. So one day he told his folks, he said, guys, I want you to build a massive maze around my palace. And also make sure the road to the palace is not sealed, he said. It should be in the mountains, windy, unmetalled. So make it difficult for people, he said. And he said, build this massive maze, so not everybody can just get through to me or get to me very quickly. So they did a pretty good job at building that very complicated whole labyrinth of maze. So people, when they started to approach him, they realized the maze was just too difficult to decipher. And they would get lost and they'd just go back, say, to hell with the king or whatever, we'll try our luck elsewhere. Somebody else does it for a much lower rate, and so on. So they would leave the king. They wouldn't even get to him. But there was a small group of people who were of sharp intellect, and they would carry their notebooks and pens and pencils, and they say, we'll find a way. And after very diligent studying the maze, a lot of perseverance and not giving up, they finally made it to the king. So they made it, many other left. But as time progressed, a few months passed, people who were in desperate need started calling out to the king, like really screaming at the top of their lungs from the beginning of the maze itself. Oh king, where are you? King, where are you? Where are you? We need you, we need you. They really started screaming loudly. And the king said, look, decimate this maze. I have to see these people. They really need me. So the first path is the path of Gyan Marga, that upon deep reflection, contemplation, they arrived at the head of the palace. They managed to meet with the king or the king. And the second path is the path of either you can call it devotion or persistence or sadhana, where you say, look, I may not be able to figure out how to get to the other end of this maze that I see in front of me, but I do know that if I keep calling out, it's bound to bring some result. So that is the path of mantra chanting as well. That if you hear somebody's the sound, buzzing sound. So if you don't give up and if you keep at it, something or the other will happen. And that's the whole journey and that's the whole discovery. What happens is something you have to discover for yourself. There was a man, I'll just tell you this, then I'll get to the next question. He was driving home through on the countryside, and his car broke down. It was middle of the night, and he looked around. He saw a monastery. He went in there. They said, look, don't worry, we'll fix your car, and you can stay here. We'll feed you. Don't worry, you're safe. And when he went down to sleep, he heard this beautiful sound. And in the morning when he woke up, he said to the monks, he said, where was this sound coming from? He said to the monks, where was this sound coming from? They said, oh, you heard it? He said, indeed, that's what I'm asking. Can't tell you, the monk said. Why? Why not? Because, he said, you're not a monk. And he said, okay, well, fine then. He goes away, but when he goes back to his home, he's constantly recalling the same sound, the beautiful sound he heard, the most mellifluous, the most moving, and then he says, I can't contain it anymore. He goes back. He says, look, is there no other way for me to find out the source of that sound, to know what was producing that sound? He said, nope, you have to be a monk to do that. He said, what would it take to be a monk? They said, well, you have to go around the world 3 times, and you have to follow 36 steps of certain puja, and you have to do certain sadhanas, and you do that for 12 years. You come back, and then we'll tell you. And he says, look, it's a very small price to pay. I'm going to do that. So he goes around the world and all that, does everything that was expected or asked of him. And many years later, almost it takes him 2 decades to complete that process. 20 years later, he goes there, he says, look, I'm back. I'm old, but I'm back. I want to know now the source of the sound. They said, sure. So they take him through a big alleyway and tunnels and whole what have you, and they gave him a key. They said, we can't go there with you. You have to go yourself. Now he goes, he opens one door. He's immediately met by another door, and then he has to search for the key. He searches for the key, 2nd door, 3rd door, 4th door, 5th door. At the 7th door, he sees this amazing thing, most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. That was the source of that sound. You know what it was? Can't tell you. You know?